How do you judge a city? Is it based on the jobs available, or the public infrastructure, or the ease of transport? Whatever the criteria, Delhi has failed it. The city and its police stand brutally exposed today. We told you yesterday about the horrific hit-and-run case on New Year's Eve. A 20-year-old woman on a scooty hit by a car and then dragged for 13 kilometers on the road and finally left to die. Not a single cop spotted this car dragging a dead body along for a full hour and a half. Not a single patrol responded in time when eyewitnesses alerted them multiple times. This woman died the most horrible death on the streets of our national capital. The Delhi police should be hanging their heads in shame today. We will be telling you about their lapses, but first, let's get you the latest developments in this case. The victim, named Anjali, was cremated today. Her body was accompanied by a large number of locals and family members. Earlier in the day, doctors performed an autopsy on the body. They ruled out sexual assault and confirmed shock and hemorrhage as the cause of death. In other words, she was dragged to her death, they say.
सुल्तानपुरी इंसिडेंट में दिल्ली पुलिस ने एक मेडिकल बोर्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूट करा था। मेडिकल बोर्ड ने कल पोस्टमार्टम एग्जामिनेशन किया था और आज उस पोस्टमार्टम एग्जामिनेशन की प्रोविजनल रिपोर्ट हमें मिली है। प्रोविजनल रिपोर्ट के आधार पर जो डेथ है वो एंटीमॉर्टम इंजरीज की वजह से हुई है, जिसमें शॉक एंड हेमरेज उसका मेन कारण है। और जो ये डेथ है ये जो ड्रैगिंग है बॉडी की उसकी वजह से हुई है। इसके अलावा पोस्टमार्टम एग्जामिनेशन में जो बॉडी का एग्जामिनेशन होता है उसके आधार पर कोई ऐसी इंजरी नहीं है जो ये सजेस्ट करती हो कि कोई सेक्सुअल असॉल्ट हुआ है।
Now, today another twist came in the form of Anjali's friend. Turns out Anjali wasn't riding alone on New Year's Eve. She was accompanied by her friend who was riding pillion. The cops took more than 24 hours to figure this out, but we'll get to that in a bit. This friend apparently fled the spot after the accident out of fear, she says, and returned home. She did not report what happened to the police. And even if she had, who knows whether the cops would have actually acted, because their response in this case has been disgraceful. Aam Aadmi Party leader Atishi Marlena is asking why the initial FIR was so weakly framed.
आरोपियों को जो सख्त से सख्त सजा दी जानी चाहिए उस पे बात करने वाले हैं, पर हम उनसे ये भी मांग कर रहे हैं कि जो पुलिस अफसर इस पूरे मामले में जिन्होंने लापरवाही दिखाई उन पर भी सख्त कार्रवाई होनी जरूरी है। वो पुलिस अफसर जो वहां पर मौके पे मौजूद थे, जिन्होंने फोन नहीं उठाए, जिन्होंने स्थिति परिस्थिति को देखा नहीं, अगर 12 किलोमीटर तक एक लड़की ऐसी दरिंदगी के साथ घसीटती चली गई, वो पुलिस अफसर जिन्होंने सिर्फ एक आरोपी पर धाराएं दर्ज करी और बाकियों को छोड़ दिया, वही पुलिस अफसर जिसने एक कमजोर धारा में FIR दर्ज की, और DCP जिन्होंने आरोपियों को बचाने की कोशिश करी, उनके डिफेंस में स्टेटमेंट दी, उन सब पर भी कार्रवाई होनी जरूरी है।
We also today have more clarity on what happened in the early hours of Sunday as the world was entering a new year. At around 1:17 a.m., we see Anjali and her friend outside a hotel in Sultanpuri. They were seen arguing about something. At 1:32, we see them again, this time outside the same hotel. More than half an hour later, at 2:10, we see both the scooter and the car going in opposite directions. That's the last time we see Anjali alive. The next 74 minutes is unaccounted for, which brings us to 3:24 a.m. when the first PCR call was made. Remember this time, 3:24 a.m. We'll come back to this. The Khanjawala station was informed that a grey car was dragging a dead body around. Almost 30 minutes later, the police gets another input. One of the patrols spotted a damaged scooter in the middle of the road. He logged that information with the Sultanpuri station. After that, more time passes. At 4:11, another PCR call is made to the Khanjawala police station. The cops are informed that a dead body has been found lying on the road. That's when they finally arrive and take the body away. So we have 120 minutes after we see Anjali leaving on her scooter and the cops discovering her body. Now, out of this 120 minutes, almost 74 minutes is unaccounted for. Can you imagine that? The Delhi government claims this city has the most CCTV cameras in the world, more than in cities like Paris. If that is indeed the case, how did no one spot this accident or this car? The government claims it has installed more than 1,33,000 cameras in this city. If you do the math, that's around 90 cameras per square kilometer, 540 cameras per 6 kilometers, and more than 1,000 cameras spread over 12 kilometers. But guess how many CCTVs captured Anjali in the car? Just 5 or 6. 12 should have been operational. So the Delhi government also has a lot to answer for. If they have indeed installed more than 1,33,000 cameras, why is there a 74-minute gap on Sunday? That's a question for the Aam Aadmi Party to answer. The victims' relatives are saying this was a planned murder. They are accusing the police of a cover-up. Listen in.
इन लोगों ने इस बात की पुष्टि की है कि जो ये हम जो पहले आप देख रहे थे कि इस पूरी सारी चीज को जो है अमली जामा पहनाया जा रहा था कि ये एक एक्सीडेंट है। जो पोस्टमार्टम रिपोर्ट आई है वो ये आई है कि ड्रैगिंग के कारण जो एक्सीडेंट हुआ है उसके कारण ये डेथ हुई है। इट इज नॉट वन हिट, ऐसा एक डेथ होती है कि एक हिट हुआ और डेथ हो गई। जो 13 किलोमीटर का जो सफर जो मुजरिमों ने तय किया था उसको घसीटा था, उस ड्रैगिंग के कारण डेथ हुई है। एक प्रॉपर मर्डर है, एक प्लान मर्डर है, क्योंकि 2 बजे पहले अक्यूज कहते हैं कि वो वहां पर मूर्थल से अपना न्यू ईयर बना के आ रहे थे और सडनली वो लोग 2 बजे वहां पर खड़े हुए हैं, अपनी लाइट को डिम कर रहे हैं, कुछ कर रहे हैं। तो ये प्रॉपर एक प्लान मर्डर है। सबसे ये आग्रह करूंगा कि हमारी जो बहन है, जो दिल्ली की बहन है, जो आज पूरे भारत की बहन बन गई है 140 करोड़ लोगों की, उसको इंसाफ दिया जाए।
We too have questions of the police. Any citizen would. If only they would answer them. The officers just come with prepared statements during press conferences, deliver them with a straight face, and then refuse to take questions. And that's exactly what happened. And do you know why it happened? Because the cops failed spectacularly. They had deployed more than 18,000 cops on New Year's weekend. This was the most patrolled night of the year. 18,000 cops in the national capital. And yet they failed to stop this absolutely horrible incident from happening. And it's not like they were not alerted. At least 2 people called up the police and reported the incident. One of their own patrols spotted the damaged scooter. Despite that, there was no attempt to get to the bottom of it. No attempt to scan the CCTV and find out how that accident happened. If this is not a policing error, I really don't know what is. After all the backlash and the protests, the Home Ministry has agreed to probe what happened. And guess who will be leading this probe? Senior Delhi cop Shalini Singh. That's right. The Delhi police will themselves investigate how they messed up. Have you ever heard something as absurd as that? I'm not saying that Shalini Singh is not a competitive officer. She's a special commissioner in the economic offences wing. She was also crucial in containing the farmers' protest. But how can an internal probe sort out this mess? Clearly, there were failures on multiple levels that led to this mistake on New Year's. And it's criminal negligence, nothing else. To rectify that, the Delhi police needs an impartial investigation, if nothing else. Maxwell Pereira is a former IPS officer. He's joining me on the broadcast. Lalita Kumara Mangalam is former chief of the NCW. She is with me as well. And Vaibhav Agarwal is chairperson of Yuva India Foundation. He's joining us as well on this broadcast. Maxwell Pereira, we now have a sequence of events in front of us. I think what happened is fairly clear. The autopsy report is out. It is ruling out sexual assault. And yet, what most of us cannot get over is just how miserably and spectacularly the Delhi police failed its citizens on New Year's.
Are you expecting an answer from me?
Mr. Pereira, that question was for you. Yes, Mr. Pereira, I am.
Well, first of all, let me condole with the mother and grandmother of this unfortunate victim. Number one. In policing history, whether you like it or not, there come unforeseen circumstances like this one, which is absolutely unexpected, and yet they do happen. It is unfortunate that the body that was stuck in the undercarriage of a vehicle goes undetected for kilometers away. There have been instances of people getting stuck in the undercarriage, sometimes with detection, sometimes without detection. And this being in the dark of the night, it has gone undetected by the 18,000 cops that were out on the street, undetected by all the patrols, all the barricades and pickets. It has just happened. It is unfortunate. Yes, one would expect the police to have detected it, but it has not detected.
Okay.
It is for the police.
Okay, so it's
to
unfortunate, but Lalita Kumara
analyze
Mangalam,
and find out.
I would say it's
how
criminal.
this happened.
Sure. I mean, but the point is, who will do it, Mr. Pereira? Because the Delhi police and the Home Ministry, under which the Delhi police falls, has appointed Shalini Singh to do the job. So it's the Delhi police, probing its own, essentially. Lalita Kumara Mangalam, Mr. Pereira says that what happened shouldn't have happened. Of course, it shouldn't have happened. But accountability needs to be fixed. In this case, all those CCTVs, 1,33,000, cannot detect what has happened. In any case, who's monitoring these CCTVs? And what about the police? 18,000 of them, the most patrolled night. Multiple pickets. This car crossed and no one detected it. No one even responded to all the eyewitnesses. Okay, just a minute. Give me a minute. The pillion rider who has added a new twist. Ma'am, 1 minute. The pillion rider who has added a new twist to the story is now speaking. Let me quickly go listen into what she's saying. I'll come back to you.
अच्छा ठीक है। अच्छा ये बताओ निधि, अच्छा निधि एक बात ये बताओ कि वजह क्या थी? कोई बॉयफ्रेंड की बात थी?
हाँ, उनकी पर्सनल मैटर था, उसमें मेरे को नहीं पता उनका पर्सनल मैटर था। क्या हुआ उन दोनों के बीच, क्या नहीं हुआ, वो उन दोनों को पता है। मैं बाहर चली गई थी उस टाइम पे।
बोला था निधि ने ऐसा?
अंजलि ने मुझसे कुछ ऐसा नहीं बोला।
अच्छा ठीक है।
कितने सालों से जानते हैं? थोड़ा पीछे भी।
मुझे अंजलि को
तो पीछे बस हो गया।
हो गया, जनता बैठे हो गया क्या? नहीं
सर
ये बताओ किस बात को लेकर आप एक्शन स्वामित तो हां मैं यही हूं। आप ये ज्वाइन कर एक कर बताओ यार निधि मुझे ये चीज पूछ पाएगा ऐसे निधि आप बताएं, क्योंकि आरोप आप पे लग रहे हैं कि आपने पुलिस को नहीं बताया। क्या हुआ था?
यार मेरा चल रहा है ना, अभी अब जाएगा, अभी तो हट तो जाओ।
ऐसे मैंने देखा है ये आपके कारण मैंने कुछ नहीं बताया। मैं डर गई थी बहुत ज्यादा, तो मेरे को जो अच्छा लगा कि मेरे को घर जाना चाहिए सेफ किया, तो मैं घर चली गई।
और उसके बाद निधि उस समय क्या हुआ था? आप जब जा रही थी स्कूटी पे, आप भी बैठी थी, कौन चला रहा था उस समय? तो गाड़ी में टक्कर कैसे हुई?
ड्राइविंग वो कर रही थी।
हाँ
ठीक है, वो लड़की ड्राइविंग कर रही थी, मैं पीछे बैठी थी। पहले हमारा एक बड़े ट्रक से टक्कर होते होते बचा।
अच्छा।
वो टक्कर होते होते बहुत बचा उस ट्रक से। फिर मैंने एक बार स्कूटी रोकी, मैंने कहा मेरे को तेरे पे विश्वास नहीं है।
आखिरी
मेरे को तेरे पे विश्वास नहीं है, मैंने उसको बोला। फिर हमने मेरे सामने हुआ, वो लड़की ने ड्रिंक कर रखी थी, इसलिए उस लड़की की इस तरह मौत हुई। पर उस लड़कों की भी गलती, उस लड़कों को पता था कि वो लड़की वो लड़की बिल्कुल मतलब नीचे दबी हुई है।
पीटी बस,
ठीक है,
पीटी उसका शरीर 13 किलोमीटर था।
पीटी बस।
There you heard Nidhi, who was talking to Times Network, who has stated that she got scared, and certainly the trauma can be seen on her eyes. Priyank Tripathi from Times Now.
Okay, that was Priyank speaking to Nidhi, who was the pillion rider, who hasn't come forward actually. Lalita Kumara Mangalam, she is someone who had to be traced by the police. She was riding pillion. The accident happens. The car hits the scooter. Both of them fall. And Nidhi, in her wisdom, decides she's scared and she just runs away from the spot and doesn't even inform the police. That itself is such a highly irresponsible thing to do. I mean, I don't even want to get to that. For the moment, Lalita, I'm speaking about the police and why this is not just negligence and why the police cannot get away by saying that it just happens, because it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen on one of the most patrolled nights of the season, of the year. 18,000 cops on the ground, 133,000 CCTVs. If this doesn't make a woman safe in the capital of this country, I don't know what will.
Yeah, I have just one thing to say that unfortunately the pillion rider, it doesn't, I mean, we said it doesn't, but it did happen. And that's the worst thing. I think everybody is at fault here. The Delhi police, the traffic police, who should have been much more, much more energetic perhaps in looking at what is going on. The Delhi government for ensuring that the CCTVs that they claim they have fixed were working, and that if they were working, the traffic police were actually looking at it. The Delhi police, who should not have been, I don't know, were they sleeping? Were they tired? Were they cold? I don't know, but these are all just excuses. What happened should not have happened. That it happened is the worst crime possible itself. Regardless of whether it's the Commissioner of Police of Delhi or the DCP involved or the person in that particular police station, I think you were saying, I'm not very aware, what is the name of the police station? Khanjawali police station.
Yeah, Khanjawala. I know.
Yeah. Regardless, they all need to be taken to task and immediately. One of the things why such horrible, barbaric incidents keep taking place is because the perpetrators think that they can get away with it. That's what gives them that horrible sense of, oh, I can get away with it. I'm from a rich family. I can pay money. I can bribe my way. I can pretend I was drunk, whatever it is. Also, I think the Delhi government's liquor policy now, they should look at it again. I come from Tamil Nadu, where liquor is one of the biggest problems in the state. And I hope that this is not the start of something that's nightmarish for Delhi. As it is, women in Delhi are not safe. And I'm saying this as the ex-head of the NCW. They have not been safe for many, many years. And everybody keeps passing the buck, regardless of which party is in power, regardless of who may be the police commissioner. I'm sorry, I've had friends who are ex-police commissioners, who were my classmates in college. But nonetheless, the fact is that responsibility this time has to be pinned. And if there has been any hera-feri or any fudging of the police FIR file, then that has to be looked at very, very closely by, if necessary, the senior most officials who can be put on it, whom we can be sure are not going to do a cover-up. Because there's too many people at fault here. And the pillion rider, okay, she was scared, but she was also it was extremely cruel of her. She could have gone home and called the police. She could have said exactly what she said now, what we could hear of her.
I
saying
agree.
On TV,
Irresponsible, cruel.
Yeah, very, very, very despicably cruel.
Absolutely. It's irresponsible. It is cruel.
It is both.
She should have. And what happened to that young girl? What happened to that young girl, I will say it is not just the 5 men who were in that car, but even this girl is responsible for what has happened to that young girl. I will say that. Because
that poor young girl was, I was told,
absolutely,
that she was the only economic, who managed her family. What's her
mother
family
is on
going to
dialysis.
do? I think the first thing that now needs to be done.
Her mother is on dialysis. She has 5 young siblings. Her father is dead. It's a very unfortunate circumstance that her family finds herself in. Let me get in Vaibhav here. Vaibhav Agarwal.
Just one minute.
Vaibhav
I think
Agarwal.
for humanity's
This is a
sake,
just a minute, ma'am.
Just 1 minute, 1 second. Give me 30 seconds. I think as a humanitarian gesture, both the center and the Delhi government should at least make sure that the family of that girl is given some sort of financial recompense, not for the death or not for what cruelty has happened, but in order for them to be able to run their own family. This child should never have died. And to die like this is, of course, that's another barbaric and I mean, very, very, very something that should never have happened. Even in the most horror stories, it should have happened. But the family must also be looked after now.
Three sets of people.
Too many people are, too many people need to
The
answer
Delhi
for this,
government has announced something,
but the family
ma'am.
must.
There are 3 sets of people. Okay, there are 3 sets of people who have essentially failed this young girl. Of course, the police. Of course, absolutely the police. Absolutely. Then the 5 men at the wheel. But also this young girl who was with her. You were with her. You know each other. You're friends. She's giving you a lift. She's dropping you home. And her scooter hits a car or a car hits her scooter. She falls down. There is an accident. And what do? What is your reflex action? You run away because you say you're scared. It's the dead of the night. Okay, for a minute, I can understand that she was scared. Vaibhav, I can understand she was scared. You never know in Delhi that there are men driving this car. You never know what happens. This is the national capital, after all, the rape capital of this country. You run away, you're afraid. At least have the decency and the humanity to call the police and say something like, this has happened to my friend. Please go looking for her. Instead, you had 2 eyewitnesses, 2 do-gooders, one from a food delivery app and one a local person who runs a shop there. Multiple times, not once, multiple times calling the police and saying, look, this car is headed this way, come catch them. 3 PCR vans pass this one particular eyewitness I spoke to yesterday, Deepak. He says they didn't take me seriously. Who do we blame?
Shreya, my condolences.
Why has the Delhi Police Commissioner not been sacked by the Home Ministry? I want to know that.
I think, Shreya, my first of all condolences, and I'm very shocked. And I don't know how to react to all this, but one thing I certainly know is that there has to be an accountability that has to be fixed up for a very long period of time. In at least last 12 years that I recollect, there has been a very big discussion, and Mr. Pereira is also here. He's been a senior guy. There has been a continuous discussion of police reforms, where accountability is one of the new subjects that they need to be introduced to. Now, the problem is, who monitors the monitor of the monitor? Now, that's where, this is the first time, Shreya, and you and I have debated for a very long time. I never compare ourselves to Western economies, but now is the time to take the best results take the best of the best examples from other economies. So, for example, if I was to take an example from the American policing, there is a monitor of the monitor of the monitor. From Singapore, these are safe countries relatively. From Dubai, look at Dubai. Mind-blowing. There is not a single PCR on the road, but I lost my spectacles. These spectacles in the cab there. I had no cab number. I did not have the taxi number. In 35 minutes on one phone call, the guy came back, drove 35 kilometers back and gave me my glasses. And then I asked a local cop there as to how do you manage safety and security, because me and my friends were going out on a walk late in the night, and they said that feel free to loiter around wherever you want to. If there is an issue that happens, 15 minutes max is the time when our people will take place. Why? Because we have a centralized control room which monitors all the roads, and we have
women can't loiter in this country.
And we can't
broad daylight or night, Vaibhav, women cannot loiter in this country. Public spaces don't belong to women in this country.
Not just forget about women, not even men for that matter, because some other person with a hooligan mentality will come and take pangas with you. So from a policy perspective, it is about time to bring in accountability into the system. And I don't know for what reason.
And how will that accountability be fixed? Wait, Vaibhav, just a minute. How will that accountability be fixed? How will that accountability will be fixed? If a Delhi police official is probing the lapses of the Delhi police, how will that accountability be fixed if the police is probing itself? Can you expect a fair probe? No, you can't. It's logical that you can't. Just give me a minute. I just want to hear what the pillion rider is saying, because we are hearing from her for the first time now. She has spoken to the police, but now's the time when she's speaking to the press for the first time, I believe. Let's just hear the sequence of events she's giving out. The post-mortem report for the moment has ruled out sexual assault, but that doesn't make this crime any less horrific. Imagine someone you know, someone you love, is hit by a car, driven by 5 drunk men, and then dragged to her death for 12 kilometers, an hour and a half, and the police is nowhere to be seen. Let's listen in to the pillion rider.
हम वहाँ से जा रहे थे, आगे से गाड़ी आ रही थी, प्लानो है तो गाड़ी हम लड़की आगे गिरी, मैं साइड में गिर गई, फिर टक्कर हो गई, वो गाड़ी के नीचे घुस गई। हाँ, लड़कों को पता था कि भाईजान उनके नीचे एक लड़की है, लड़कों ने जानबूझ के इस मौत को अंजाम दिया। उनको पता था, लड़की नीचे से चिल्ला रही थी, मैं होपलेस हो गई थी बहुत ज्यादा, इसलिए मैं घर में चली गई।
Mr. Pereira, I have 20 seconds, but this girl is saying, this pillion rider, the eyewitness in the case, Mr. Pereira, is saying that the men were completely aware of what they were doing because this girl was screaming. And there is no way that the men inside the car could not have heard her. Is this your belief as well, that this is not merely a hit and run and drag incident? There is much more to this?
Well, the people in the car, I can't vouchsafe for their behavior. It was evident that they were drunk. Whether they were conscious of the act that they were doing, and I believe I read in this morning's papers somewhere that even the driver of the car mentioned about some obstacles troubling their progress, that there is something that is coming in between the wheels. If that is true, it is definitely, well, accountability you can fix on them, that they did not heed the warning that the driver gave.
Okay.
Or let the vehicle stop, and that definitely is culpable.
So they knew exactly what was happening, because this girl is saying, this pillion rider, very clearly speaking to the press for the first time, is saying that girl falls down, she screams. This is murder because everyone can hear the girl screaming, and yet these men continue to drive their car. We leave it there for the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on this very unfortunate sequence of events that played out in our national capital on New Year's. Thank you very much. We are moving on.